I just spent $183 at the grocery store, and I swear, I walked out with a bag of salad, some chicken, and oat milk. That's it. No steak, no snacks, not even name brands. And I know it's not just me. In 2025, grocery prices are up 25.2% since 2020, with everyday staples like eggs, rice, beef, and bread seeing the biggest spikes in over 4 decades. You feel it every time you shop. Milk is $6. A loaf of bread is $5. A single bell pepper, $2.79. And somehow we're all supposed to pretend this is normal. So today, we're breaking it down. Why food is suddenly unaffordable for millions of Americans in 2025. This isn't just about inflation. This is corporate price gouging, failed policy, climate breakdown, and a middle class that's disappearing in real time. We're going to look at real numbers, real people, and the hard truth no one in Washington wants to say out loud. Let's get into it. 10. The dollar store isn't a dollar store anymore, and that should terrify you. So we used to joke that the dollar store was where you went when you were broke. Now it's where you go when you have to pretend you're not broke, because even the dollar store isn't a dollar anymore. I mean, seriously, when the place with a literal price tag in its name can't keep its prices under $1.25, you know we're in trouble. It's not just shrinkflation, it's full-blown economic erosion. Dollar Tree, for instance, has already raised their price cap to $1.25 on most items, and they're now pushing $3 and $5 premium sections in more than 4,000 stores nationwide. Think about that. You walk in expecting to save a few bucks, and you leave wondering if ramen noodles should ever cost more than your childhood allowance. And don't even get me started on the food quality. Less nutrition, more filler. Food scientists say ultra-processed items now make up over 60% of what's sold in these stores, and you'd better believe they're using that as a loophole to charge more for less. And here's a stat no one talks about. Between 2019 and 2025, Dollar General quietly raised prices on 81% of their food items, often without anyone noticing because the quantities got cut in half. You know what that is? It's poverty wrapped in marketing. It's a scam store for the economically stranded. People are turning to discount chains like they're lifeboats, but what they don't realize is those lifeboats are taking on water fast. If this is the new affordable option in America, then we are in a cost of living crisis that's so much deeper than groceries. It's systemic. 9. SNAP isn't snapping back. The food stamp cuts that no one's talking about now. Here's something they don't want to plaster on the headlines. In 2025, SNAP benefits were cut back again. Quietly, systematically, brutally. And for the 41 million Americans relying on them, that wasn't just a policy change, it was the difference between eating and skipping dinner. When the emergency allotments ended in 2023, families saw their benefits drop by an average of $95 a month. That might not sound like much to the people writing the laws, but when you're counting dollars down to the can of soup, it's a gut punch. Then came inflation. Then came layoffs. Then came rising rent and fuel costs. And SNAP? Still sitting at the same level, even though food prices jumped by 19% since early 2022. Want a terrifying number? According to the Urban Institute in 2025, 9 out of 10 SNAP households run out of benefits before the end of the month. And they're not splurging. They're buying rice. They're buying milk. They're buying pasta and frozen vegetables and whatever they can stretch into 30 days. Meanwhile, the Thrifty Food Plan, the system used to calculate SNAP, hasn't been meaningfully updated to reflect real-life costs. You try feeding a growing teenager on $6.50 a day and tell me how that goes. What's even more disturbing is that congressional debates in early 2025 were seriously floating the idea of tightening eligibility even more, so millions could be kicked off the program altogether. And let's be real, this isn't just a SNAP issue. This is a hunger issue. This is a national emergency dressed up like a budgeting inconvenience. If we're debating whether the poorest among us deserve to eat 3 meals a day, we've already lost the plot. 8. Where's the beef? On billionaire plates, apparently. Here's a question that nobody's answering honestly. Why is beef suddenly a luxury item? Because in 2025, ground chuck is going for $7.89 a pound in some regions. $7 for the cheapest beef on the shelf. And if you want steaks, forget it. T-bones and sirloins are sitting at $15 to $22 per pound, depending on the store. And that's not even the grass-fed organic stuff. I'm talking regular grocery store beef, the kind that used to be everyday food. But that everyday has become birthday dinner if you're lucky for a lot of families. The USDA blames it on droughts, feed costs, and smaller cattle herds, and yeah, all that's true. The national cattle herd is at its lowest level since 1962, according to recent USDA figures. But you know what else is true? Meatpacking corporations made record profits in 2024. Tyson Foods pulled in $53 billion in revenue, and JBS isn't far behind. So when you combine low supply, high corporate margins, and zero price controls, you get exactly this. Middle-class people standing in front of a meat aisle wondering if chicken thighs are now too expensive too. And that's not an exaggeration. Chicken is up 21% over last year. Pork? Up 17%. This isn't seasonal fluctuation. This is pricing people out of protein. And you know who's not affected? Wealthy consumers, the same ones who can afford meal delivery kits and Wagyu subscriptions, while the rest of us are eyeing the discount bin like it's a prize. So yeah, where's the beef? It's where all the wealth is, at the top. 7. Corporate grocery monopolies, the hidden tyrants in your pantry. Here's the part no one ever thinks about, but it's ruining your wallet whether you realize it or not. The reason groceries are unaffordable in 2025 isn't just inflation or drought or global conflict, it's consolidation. It's the fact that 4 corporations now control over 60% of all U.S. grocery sales: Kroger, Walmart, Costco, and Albertsons. That's it. That's who sets the prices. That's who decides what's on the shelf. That's who makes a fortune while you stare at a $6 loaf of bread, wondering if you should switch to tortillas this week. Let me put it in perspective. When Kroger announced its planned $24.6 billion merger with Albertsons, consumer advocacy groups lost their minds. Why? Because fewer competitors means less price competition, less incentive to keep things affordable, and more room for profit padding behind closed doors. In fact, a recent report from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance showed that since 2010, the markup on grocery items has more than doubled, and not because of supply costs, but because of margin optimization. That's corporate lingo for charge more because you can. And don't forget about private label monopolies. Ever notice how your favorite store brand cereal used to be half the price and now it's creeping up toward name brand levels? That's by design, because once they eliminate competition, they become the only option. It's slow, it's quiet, and it's devastating. And while these companies claim they're fighting inflation, they've been issuing record shareholder dividends and stock buybacks the whole time. So if you're wondering why your $70 grocery trip now buys 3 bags of food and a headache, it's not just inflation. It's the monopoly behind your milk. 6. Greenwashed. Groceries, organic prices, industrial practices. Let's talk about one of the greatest modern marketing scams in your cart right now: greenwashed groceries. In 2025, more people than ever are trying to eat healthy. You're told to avoid ultra-processed junk, reduce seed oils, cut sugar, buy organic. Sounds great, but the moment you grab that non-GMO, grass-fed, sustainably farmed item, your total at checkout jumps $40. And here's the kicker. Most of those labels don't even mean what you think they mean. A recent expose from Consumer Reports found that over 55% of organic labeled packaged products still contain additives and industrially processed ingredients. The USDA's organic certification? It's riddled with loopholes. Chickens labeled free range often live in cramped barns with a single small door to an outdoor gravel lot. And let's not forget natural flavors, a term so vague it's legally allowed to hide over 100 different chemical compounds. Meanwhile, Big Ag has figured out that slapping a green Label on a frozen dinner jacks up the perceived value, so the $3 meal is now $7.39 because someone hand-wrote clean ingredients on the box. It's psychological warfare at the grocery store. We're out here trying to do the right thing, feed our families better food, and we're being punished for it. And yes, there is a class divide in the organic aisle. According to USDA data, only 12% of low-income households can afford to regularly purchase organic produce. But what nobody's saying is that even the middle class is being priced out now. You're not crazy for walking out with 2 bags of food and wondering where your $110 went. You didn't buy gourmet. You bought survival, and they branded it like luxury. 5. The hidden cost of food delivery apps. Grubhub is draining your pantry. Look, we've all been there. You're too tired to cook. Maybe you forgot to grocery shop this week, or maybe you're juggling 3 jobs and don't have time to meal prep. So what do? You tap a button, and boom, your dinner shows up in 45 minutes. But what that button doesn't tell you is that food delivery apps are bleeding your wallet dry, one burrito at a time. In 2025, services like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub now account for 23% of all food spending among households under 40. That's almost a quarter of your monthly food budget gone to convenience. And you're not even getting grocery store prices. That $14 pasta dish from the local joint? It ends up being $32.74 after fees, tips, and inflated menu pricing. You think I'm exaggerating? A study from TechCrunch this year showed the average markup on delivery food is now 82% higher than in-store pickup. Add that to inflation, gas surcharges, and small order fees, and it's a miracle anyone's ordering at all. But here's the worst part. Many people are using food delivery not as a luxury, but as a replacement for groceries because they can't afford a full grocery run. That's how twisted this economy has become. It's cheaper to buy 3 nights of fast food than to make one big grocery haul with healthy ingredients. But you'll pay for it later, nutritionally and financially. Because while you think you're saving time, what you're really doing is sacrificing long-term food security for short-term survival. And the delivery companies? They don't care. They just raised prices again last month and still reported record profits in Q3. Convenience is the new poverty trap. 4. Climate change is literally eating our food supply. We've all heard about climate change, right? Melting glaciers, rising sea levels, more hurricanes. But let's talk about what it's doing to your grocery bill. Because in 2025, the climate isn't just something scientists warn about. It's something you're tasting in every overpriced tomato. Global crop yields are plummeting, and it's not theoretical anymore. It's in your pantry. This year alone, California lost over 25% of its lettuce production due to unprecedented heat waves and water restrictions. The Midwest had its shortest corn harvest since 2012 because of alternating floods and droughts. And wheat? Canada's fields were scorched so badly that global wheat futures hit a 14-year high in March. Now, what does that mean for you? Well, it means a bag of flour that used to cost $2.49 is now $5.59. It means pasta costs 40% more than it did in 2020. It means your oat milk, your granola, your rice, anything that relies on consistent harvest is now part of a roulette game played by the weather. And if you're thinking, well, we can just import more food, good luck. Global food exports are tightening because every country is protecting its own supply. India banned rice exports this year. Russia restricted wheat. Argentina pulled back on soy. We're in a global food tug-of-war, and guess who's losing? The working-class American shopper. And the big food companies? They're hedging their risks just fine. They've got contracts, insurance, storage. You don't. You've got sticker shock in the bread aisle and a storm on the horizon. Climate change isn't coming. It's already at the checkout lane, and it just rang up your grapes at $9.29 a pound. 3. The vanishing middle class. When doing everything right still isn't enough. So let's have a brutally honest conversation. What happens when you follow all the rules? You go to college, you work full-time, you budget, you don't eat out, you meal prep, and you still can't afford groceries. That's not a personal finance issue, that's a systemic collapse. In 2025, the so-called middle class has been hollowed out so badly that it barely even exists anymore. According to Pew Research, over 52% of American households now fall into the low-income category, adjusted for inflation. And here's the worst part. Most of these people still have jobs. Good jobs even. Teachers, nurses, city workers, retail managers. People with steady paychecks and zero money left over. That's because wages have only increased by 4.1% over the last year, while grocery costs have jumped more than double that depending on the region. So when people say, just budget better, I want to scream. Budget what? Ground beef is $8. A carton of eggs is $7. You're cutting coupons for peanut butter and still coming up short. And guess who's not struggling? Billionaires who saw their wealth increase by $2.1 trillion since 2020. Trillion. With a T. Meanwhile, regular families are going into credit card debt just to buy food, with interest rates over 20%. This isn't about avocado toast anymore. This is about survival. If the middle class can't feed itself, then what are we even pretending this economy is? Because right now it looks more like feudalism with Wi-Fi. 2. Grocery chains. Know you're desperate, so they're weaponizing it all right. Let's get real about how this game is played. Grocery stores aren't just selling food anymore. They're running psychological operations. Every aisle is a test. Every shelf is a trap. And in 2025, they've gotten disturbingly good at it. Here's a stat you probably haven't heard. The average grocery store spends $400,000 a year on layout consulting. That's right. There are literal experts who get paid six figures just to figure out how to make you spend more on things you don't need. You know why the milk is all the way in the back? Because they're hoping you grab a $7 bag of chips and a $9.50 tub of hummus on your way there. You know why the cheapest items are always on the bottom shelf? Because they want your eye to land on the premium price stuff first. And in 2025, they've taken it to a whole new level with digital price tags that change hourly based on algorithms. That means the price you saw on Tuesday morning might not be there Tuesday night. You think that's legal? Technically, yes. Ethically, it's predatory, especially when stores start running sales that are just higher prices disguised with red tags. The same product marked as $2.99 sale was $2.79 last week. And let's not forget about the loyalty apps. Oh, you want the real price? You'd better download 6 apps, link your phone number, turn on notifications, scan QR codes, and pray the system works at checkout. This isn't shopping anymore. It's a full-time job. And they know you're too tired and overworked to fight back. That's the point. Because when you're desperate, you'll pay anything, and they're counting on that. 1. America's food crisis is by design, not accident. Here it is, the one that ties it all together. The part that no one wants to say out loud, but everyone can feel in their gut. This isn't just inflation or bad luck or a few storms. The unaffordability of groceries in 2025 is not an accident. It is the result of deliberate policy choices, corporate greed, and decades of economic erosion. This crisis is engineered, and it started long before 2020. For years, federal subsidies went to the wrong crops: corn, soy, wheat, propping up processed food industries while ignoring fruits and vegetables. Then came monopolies. Then came deregulation. Then came cost optimization, which really just meant cheapening everything except the price. The average grocery store SKU has dropped in weight by 12% since 2019, even as prices rise. And where's the government in all this? Silent. Or worse, complicit. Grocery price gouging has been called out by economists and watchdogs for years, but there hasn't been a single federal price control measure passed since 2020. Not one. Why? Because lobbying. The food industry spent $175 million in lobbying last year alone, more than oil, more than tech. And it worked. No regulations, no accountability, just green lights for higher prices and cheaper products. And now here we are, standing in a store looking at a pack of chicken tenders that costs more than a tank of gas, wondering how this became normal. It's not normal. It never was. And if we don't call it what it is, a manufactured collapse of food affordability, then we're just walking into the future blindfolded. Because make no mistake, this is the blueprint. And unless we blow the whistle, it's only going to get worse. And that's where we are. In 2025, buying groceries feels like a luxury, eating healthy feels like a punishment, and feeding your family? That's starting to look like a full-blown financial crisis. This isn't bad budgeting, this is a broken system. And no coupon, no cashback app, no grocery hack is going to fix what's really happening here. If you felt the sting at checkout, if you've walked out of the store wondering how that cost $200, you're not alone. Millions of people are struggling, and they're being told it's their fault. But the truth is clearer than ever. Food is becoming unaffordable because the people in power are choosing profit over people. Period. Let me know in the comments what prices look like where you live. Drop your monthly grocery total or what one item shocked you the most. I want to keep highlighting your stories, your receipts, and what you're seeing in real time. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button so more people can see it, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this ongoing grocery nightmare. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and pay attention to what's happening at the register. It tells you more about the economy than any politician ever will. I'll see you in the next one.